Okay, so this is where we left off last video. At this point, I would just encourage you to change what this little web page is about here. So I made my web page about the universe, but you can make yours about anything. You can make it about a person, an idea, it could be anything. So it's almost like a mini project, right? So you could change the image, you could change the headers, the text, you could change the link. You don't have to, you can keep it the same if you want, but you could just sort of make this yours. And also keep the code, either make a new file or just copy this into some other file somewhere. You got to keep it somewhere, right? So because we're going to come back to this file in a few videos from now and style it, because right now it just looks pretty bad. It looks like basic HTML. So we're going to come back, I think next video I'm going to do this, and we're going to style it. So keep the code, don't delete it. And okay, so that's all I wanted to say for that. So I'm going to delete it. I'm going to delete it because I already have this saved, so I could delete it. Okay, so for basic CSS, what you want to do is you want to go to the head. So you could do this anywhere in the head. I like to do it under the title at the bottom of the head and put a style tag. And this is going to be internal styling. So internal styling is when you style your HTML in your HTML file. At the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to make your own CSS file. Actually, I could do it right now. You can go to new file and just write style, just styles.css, and I'll show you how to write your styles here and use them in this HTML file. But for right now, I'm just going to write them here, and then at the end I'll copy them and put them in the other file and go on with that. Okay, so let's put an h1 and just say basic CSS and a p tag, and let's just get some dummy text in there. You could write lorem and then just press tab and just write some lorem ipsum. Let's go and see this. Okay, so let's do some styling. Come back here, and in the style tag in your head, that's where we're going to put all the CSS. Okay, so to style something, you need to first select what you want to style. So you could select by, for now we're going to be selecting by tag name. So if you want to style the body, you just write body. Then you put two of these things, these curly braces. You go like this. And so this is the selector, and these are where you'll put your declarations. So a declaration will change something about the body. You could change anything. You could change the height, the width, the background color, the font. You could change basically anything that CSS will let you change. So first, let's change the font. So type in font family, and I'm noticing something right here, that the linting isn't becoming active, and it's also not auto completing anything. So that's a weird thing with Atom, that if you just close this and then reopen it, now it will auto complete. So now you got all your things, so you don't have to manually type everything out. You just go to font family, and I want to make it be sans serif. So let's see this. So I think it looks a bit better. I don't like the default font for HTML. This one isn't that much better, but I think it looks a bit better. And also notice that I didn't target the h1 or the p tag. So I just targeted the body, and it changed the font of the HTML and p tag. And the reason why I did that is because by default, these tags that are inside the body inherit the font of whatever the body is set to. So if you have dozens of different tags in your HTML, you don't have to specify each tag to be a certain font. You just got to put it on the body, and it will apply to all your tags inside the body. Okay, so next let's change the background color. And there's built-in color names like red and blue. There's a bunch of them. I think there's like 160 different names. And you could also put a hexadecimal color. That's what I'm going to do right now. So 20411E6. So that's going to be like a sort of bluish color. So there it is. And now, okay, so you notice that the contrast with the text isn't that great. So we could change that by targeting the h1 and setting the color to white. And this is an important distinction, that the color refers to the text color, and the background color, well, refers to the background, obviously. So that's going to make the h1 white. And then if you want to make the p tag white, have white text, you just do almost the same thing. P tag color, whoops, white. And if you haven't noticed yet, so the declarations, they look like this, just to really break it down. There's the name of the declaration, followed by a colon, then followed by the value, and then a semicolon. And a semicolon isn't needed completely if you only have one declaration. Right here, if I take out the semicolon, it will still work. But you won't be able to put anything after this. So if you put something after this, it won't work. So if you try to do font size, see, it's not even auto-completing right now because it's confused. So 44 pixels. So this should change the font size to 44 pixels, but it's not going to work. And actually the whole thing just messed up now. So if you put the semicolon, it'll make the text bigger and it'll become white again. And let's go change the font size of the p tag as well. Make that a little bit bigger, 17 pixels. Okay, so notice now how I'm sort of repeating myself with the color. So if I wanted to change the text color to be a different color, I would have to specify it here and here, which usually isn't a good thing. So you could change this by selecting the h1 and the p tag in the same selector by doing h1, then a comma, then a p tag. So this just combines the selectors. So now it's still going to be the same. Let's look at it. It's still white, but if you want to change the color, you can change it just right here. So let's try deep sky blue. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, it's not as readable, but whatever. Put it back to white. Okay, and before I end this video, I want to refactor this one more time, the color to white. So instead of doing this, what you could do is you could put a class. So a class is followed by a dot. It's going to be a class selector. So far all we've seen is the element selector, where we just type the name of the element, the h1, the p tag. We could also select by class. Okay, so the class that I want to make is a color, and it will just set the color of whatever you want to set it to, so to white. And let's see this now. And it goes back to black, and that's pretty much what you expect because the h1 doesn't have the color class. So you have to go to the h1 and the p tag and give it a class. So the class is you could put a number of classes here. So a class isn't just one value. You can put as many as you want. So you can put color, then put another one and say thin, and they have to be separated by spaces. So if you just put color thin, it will try to match a class called color thin, and there's no class called color thin. So you can say color thin and just leave it like that. And for the p tag, let's just say color. And let's make a thin class too. Thin, and just make the font weight. So the font weight is like the boldness of it. By default, H1s, all headers, actually H1 through H6, are bold by default. Let's just do normal, because I'm not sure if the default font has an actual light font to it. Okay, so thin. Alright, let's look at this. Okay, so the H1 is thinner, and they're both white again. And it's basically the same thing as you were doing before, but now instead of like if you want to bring more elements into it, before we had the H1 and the P, if you wanted to bring more elements like an H2 or an H3, we'd have to do H2, H3, and we'd have to keep adding more elements to this selector. With the color class, whoops, should be a dot. With the color class, you could easily just make another header, H2 header, and just give it the class of color, and it'll be white. There it is, but it's bold because it doesn't have the thin class. Okay, now let's refactor this. Let's put all this CSS into its own file. So let's cut it. Let's just delete the style tag completely. Save. Always remember to save your files. Okay, so this is the styles. And then you want to put a link tag. And you want to just keep this the rel attribute style sheet, but the href is where it could find the style sheet. So it's looking for the style sheet in your project. So it's in the same root as the index, so you don't have to escape folders. You don't have to go inside another folder or anything. So you just put the name of it, styles.css, and this means that it will look for a file called styles.css in the same folder that it's currently in. So both of these files are in the same folder, so it will find it right here. Let's see this. See, it looks the same. And if you made a new folder called styles and put this in there, now let's see. Now it goes back to the basic HTML because it can't find your styles. So what you would do here, you would tell it to go to a folder called styles and then a /. So this means it's a folder. The /, well, the / sort of indicates that it's a folder. So styles, then inside styles, styles.css. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video.